Hey guys, my name is Menti, and today I will be doing a small little walkthrough of how exactly to go about playing League of Legends. Mainly making this video for a friend of mine who said that he might possibly consider looking at installing the game, which is yay, because he might get close to playing, and so it won't just be a game I play to kill time while I'm doing laundry. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the basic little doodads once you're logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit launch, or play, sorry. And I'm going to do Summoner's Rift, standard blind pick. I'm going to go ahead and solo through. And you're greeted with this screen. On the left is your team composition, and on the right is the enemy's composition, which you will not see until after everyone is locked in. So the main thing you're going to see is this roster of champions. These are basically the characters you're going to be playing as. And each of them are good for different roles. There are a bunch of different roles that I'll go into a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to pick this champion, Sona, who is a support. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check my spells. Now, what these are called summoner spells. And each of them do a little thing. Think of them as little extra abilities that you can do, whether it's slowing down an enemy, making them more vulnerable to damage. You can heal yourself and a partner, and a lot of other things. And there are also runes and masteries, which I'm not going to get into in this video, other than kind of to say that they're sort of little boosties you can give your champions when you're getting into a game, as you're beginning a game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the beginning of the actual match. So here is what the actual game looks like. Very nice, bright, and colorful, and vivid. Now the first thing we're going to get into are these down here. These are your abilities. And you notice that off the bat there are three possible ones you can choose from. Standard referred to as your Q, your W, your E, and your R, which will come into play later. You also have a passive ability. Each champion has a passive ability that you don't really activate, but has a little bonus effect for your champion. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my Q, and I'm going to go into the shop. Now here, you get gold by killing minions, assisting your teammates, taking down objectives, and so on. And use this gold, which you start out with, to buy items, which are very important. If you've ever played an RPG, just buy your items. Now there are some recommendations here that are very good, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick these up. And right now I'm sort of building up my passive, which I'll explain a little bit later. But right now I kind of want to get into what each role is and their purpose on the map. So you can see the map has three different lanes. There's a top lane, a bottom lane, and a middle lane, as well as an odd area between the lanes called the jungle. Now, the bottom is occupied by an AD carry, an attack damage carry, someone who builds a lot of attack damage, and a support, who makes sure the ADC doesn't die a lot, which is my job. The middle lane is typically someone who is ranged or a spellcaster, although that can be different. The top lane is typically a tank or a fighter, someone usually melee based, but that can change as well. And that jungle is a sort of a special role because, as I mentioned, there are two people in the bottom, there's one in the middle and one on the top. The job of the jungler is to gain experience and gold by taking out neutral monster camps. Now these monsters are quite a bit tougher than standard lane minions, but as such it allows the jungler to sort of build up in the background, so if a lane needs help, he can jump in and intervene and help push lanes, help with fights that aren't going so well. He's really someone that works behind the scenes. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get close to the start of the round when the minions spawn. Alright, so I was doing a little bit of looking around to make sure nobody was invading, and so the game has pretty much started. The jungler's monsters have spawned, and like I said, they're very tough, so usually the jungler needs help to take out some of the minions so he can get sort of a kickstart into his game. Now you'll notice these little guys here. These little guys are called minions, and their job is basically to sort of act as cannon fodder, really to sort of provide a natural ebb and flow between lanes. So champions will kill these minions to gain experience, to gain gold, and to sort of gain pressure on the enemy and help push towards these, which are called towers. These towers do a lot of damage, but if you have minions, the tower will target the minions, or the turret will target the minions, so that you can happily wail away at it and take it out and move on to the next objective. However, if you attack a champion underneath these towers, the turret will focus on you, so be careful when running into a turret. So now we'll go ahead and continue with our expedition. So right now, I'm doing a little bit of pressure, sort of acting like another minion, chipping away at the other's health, as well as dealing damage to the opposing champions as well. So you can see here, the enemy's attack damage carry, or AD carry, is Graves, who right now does a fair amount of damage compared to my carry, Misfortune. Also, something unusual here is you'll notice that this champion, Jax, is playing a support, which is a little odd for his setup, but we'll work with it. Also, you'll notice that when he pops in and out of the bushes, he becomes invisible. Whenever someone goes into the bush, they cannot be seen unless a ward is placed in that bush or some other thing occurs that grants vision of that champion. So something you'll notice here is, as I'm using abilities, something is popping up that looks like the passive, and that is the passive. What happens with this champion, Sona, is that whenever I use 3 abilities, the next one does additional damage, and the amount of damage done and an effect occurs based on what my last ability was. So say I use my Q as my 3rd ability, that means that my next basic attack is going to do a lot more damage. So if I use my W last, my heal, in effect is that it reduces the damage dealt by the champion that I decide to target with it. If I use my E, then it slows that champion. So you can see here we got pushed back to the turret, and I leveled up again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up another ability. And you can see right now, Graves is putting quite a bit of pressure on us. And once again, there we go. I used a ward to provide vision of that bush so I could see who was in there. So right now, things are a little bit tricky. They've got us pushed back quite a ways. And also right there, someone pinged to be careful. That's another thing that's important, is to ping or signal if you need help, if a certain area is dangerous, or if someone is missing. It's a very good way to communicate with a team besides using chat. Alright, so you can see here, I hit level 6. And whenever you hit level 6, you'll unlock your 4th ability, or your ultimate ability, or your ult. And this is really your ace in the hole. This is your super special sort of ability that gives you a little bit more pushing power. For my champion, Sona, it causes the enemies to dance. Go figure. But it also has a second ability which sort of buffs or increases my other abilities. It sort of gives them a little extra as well. So it's quite a useful ability. You can see here we're still getting a little bit of pressure, and here because Jax decided to attack, the turret decided to target him. And I also used one of my summoner spells, Exhaust, to slow him down and increase the amount of damage he can take by reducing his armor and his magic resist. So basically, it's sort of a tug of war, a back and forth between your team and the enemy team to take down objectives and eventually get to each other's nexus, sort of the central hub of each base. Once you take that out, it's game over. So I decided to go back, and I'm going to use some of my gold that I got to buy some new items. And what I'm going to buy is an item called Sightstone. And if I've got a little extra, I'm going to buy some boots. And Sightstone is a very good item because it allows me to place 3 additional wards down so I get more vision for me and my team. And I also bought something called a Vision Ward, which can last for as long as nobody finds it and destroys it. Very useful item. So now I'm going to jump ahead into a little bit later in the game when things really start to pick up a bit. Alright, so here we're about to have a pretty good team fight. So here you can see I use my ultimate, and Miss Fortune uses her ultimate. So, a good thing about different champions is when they work together, something special happens. So you can see I was able to stun them long enough for Miss Fortune to use her ultimate to do a good amount of damage. So you can see here we gained a strong lead. And we managed to push pretty much everyone back. So you can see we scored an ace, which means the enemies are dead. The entire team is dead. That's good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make sure he doesn't die. Good job. And we're going to take down this turret here. After we take down this turret, we'll take down something called the inhibitor. And after we take that, well, the enemy team will probably have spawned by then, so we should probably, get out of here after we do this. And we're going to go ahead and back away. So, taking out objectives is key to winning games. It's not necessarily how strong you are, it's how many of those objectives you can get and how far you can push a lane. And you can see here what we're going to do is we're going to take out an optional objective called the Dragon. The Dragon is a very, very strong monster, but we're very, very strong as well, so we'll hope to take him down. And killing the Dragon gives you special buffs. This can be increased damage, increased movement speed, more damage towards minions, more damage towards towers, like we got there. And you can also see I used a different type of item that allows me to destroy enemy wards. So really we're getting a strong lead on these guys. So what's important is to make sure that you and your team work together and sort of synergize, I guess is a fun word to use. And here I'm building something that not a lot of people would build for support, something called Zeke's Herald. What this item does is it grants your team within a certain radius lifesteal and extra damage, so they can sustain themselves pretty well. So if you're good, go ahead and get that item. You can go ahead and experiment with your build. Alright, now that we've got a fairly substantial lead on the enemy team, we're going to fight another big baddie. His name is Baron Nashor, or however the hell you pronounce that. And he is a very, very, very difficult monster. However, defeating him grants a massive buff to your team. One of these special things that he grants you is the ability to make your minions stronger, which really helps for pushing lanes. So here we are towards the end of the game. The Nexus is goated by 2 towers, but right now they don't do hardly anything against us because we've pushed so hard, and here you can see the second turret is down, and now we destroy the Nexus. And that is GG, or good game. So here we won. Teamwork, perseverance, and all that jazz has helped us to get to the end. So cooperate with your team, do really good, don't feed or give the enemy too many kills, and you should do alright. So after the game you're presented with an end screen that sort of shows the general score of each team, how much experience you've gained, the items that you and your enemy were building. You can see the enemy team sort of knew they were losing, so they decided to build a little bit differently. But this provides all the information for future reference, I guess, for to show off. So that's really about all there is to it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was somewhat informational. Yeah, if you appreciate this video, feel free to hit that like button, and if you want to keep following me for more of whatever I do, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Peace.